This is a very fast-paced guide through the entire process. The goal is to put all of the lessons you just learned together into one practical example for the I11T11 M00. So I will start from the beginning and select my demo drive. Double-click on Drive Selection Wizard, SO63V2, F12, I11, T11, M00. Click OK to reset my drive configuration. I'm now going to double-click on Drive Configuration, select my motor, BE231DJ, click Next. Don't need to change anything here. Acknowledge this advisory. No braking resistor. My moment of inertia will be 20 for my minimum and 20 for my maximum because my load does not change, noticing the units. I will leave my scaling at 1:1. I will not use a homing mode. I will disable my software travel limits, leave jerk values at default, leave the monitoring and limit settings at default, leave the encoder outputs at default, and finally make sure I have absolute and single profile selection modes, and enter in some data. Positive 10 millimeters for motion set number 1 and a negative 10 millimeters for motion set number 2. I will now download this data to the drive. I will disable, or I will click on this button right here to begin the drive download. This typically takes about 2 to 4 seconds to download this complete configuration. Once it's done, you will see this screen right here, and you will have to make sure to close this screen. Now, make sure the check mark is next to Start Device Control and hit Execute. This will start the PLC cycle running within the Compax3. Now, if I had hardware inputs wired to my Compax3, I would be able to select my motion profile via the hardware inputs. But because my demo drive does not have any wired inputs, I will launch the input simulator to make motion. By double-clicking on Optimization Tool, I will go to Setup. I will click on the Additional Setup Functions and then launch my C3 Input Simulator. Click Execute over here, and now my Compax3 Input Simulator comes up. I click on Input 2, and I now have holding torque on my drive. I can feel it right now. I click Input 0, and that's my no-stop input. So input 0 and input 2 must have 24 volts DC from the PLC in order for motion to ever occur. Now I select input number 1, or set number 1, by selecting 00001 as my motion selection, and now I give it a rising edge, and there my motor moved 10 revolutions in the positive direction. Now I'll select motion set number 2, so the PLC essentially would send down 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, and then toggle this NA or this go bit one more time. And there it goes. So as you can see, it's quite easy to simulate motion with the Compax3 input simulator, and to make motion is quite simple as well. I hope this tutorial has helped you make motion on your Compax3 I11T11.